Usually, when we talk about winning a championship, there's this underlying assumption of just absolute finality, you know?
Right, yeah, the clock runs out.
Exactly. The final whistle blows, the confetti drops, and a team lifts a trophy. You see the victory with your own eyes.
Millions of other people see it at the exact same time, too.
Yeah, and that shared physical reality just becomes the end of the story. History is written. But today, Wednesday, March 18th, 2026, we are doing a deep dive into a landscape where that physical reality has just been, well, completely shattered. Welcome to today's deep dive.
It's quite the situation we're unpacking today.
It really is. Our mission for you today is to decode an unprecedented event that literally just happened yesterday, March 17th.
Right.
The Confederation of African Football, so commonly known as CK, officially stripped Senegal of the 2026 AFCON title.
Which is just wild to think about.
Right. And they did this nearly 2 months after Senegal actually won it on the pitch. And they didn't just, vacate the title either. They handed it directly to the host nation, Morocco.
Yeah, okay, let's unpack this. Because what we are looking at is a fundamental paradigm shift in how global competitions are decided.
Totally.
Our sources frame this not just as a sports dispute, but as a real-time, high-stakes study in what they call regulatory warfare.
Regulatory warfare, wow.
Yeah, it really serves as a masterclass in geopolitical soft power. The ultimate field of play has, well, it's shifted entirely from the grass to the boardroom. And understanding the mechanics of how that happened means we have to look past the physical game itself.
So let's start by picturing the streets of Dakar, Senegal, exactly 2 months ago. It was just a complete sea of green, yellow, and red.
Pure joy. I mean, you had millions of people celebrating.
Exactly. Celebrating a hard-fought victory won in the dust and sweat of a football pitch. Now you fast forward to today, and those exact same streets are just a scene of absolute disbelief.
Right, because the second championship star they earned for their jerseys has just been erased.
Gone. But to really understand how a continental crown can be reclaimed in, an administrative office months after the fact, we have to travel back to the physical event itself.
We have to go back to January 18th.
Right.
Because the environment of that specific day is, it's really the catalyst for everything that follows. The physical and psychological pressure on those players laid the groundwork for the regulatory trap that would eventually be sprung.
Okay, so we are in Rabat, Morocco. It's the Prince Moulay Abdallah Stadium. We are looking at an absolute pressure cooker environment.
Oh, totally.
On one side, you have the defending champions, the Lions of Teranga, Senegal. On the other side, you have the host nation, Morocco. The atmosphere is just electric. The stadium is deafening, and everything is on the line.
And then we hit the climax of the game, the 90th minute.
Right.
The 90th minute is where the physical reality of the sport violently collides with the regulatory mechanisms governing it. A massive VAR, the video assistant referee decision, takes place.
A penalty drama unfolds right at the dying breath of the match.
Exactly. Yeah. And the Senegalese team feels a profound sense of injustice regarding how that decision is handled by the officiating crew. And, well, their reaction sets off this entire chain of events.
Because Senegal didn't just crowd the referee and argue.
Right.
They didn't just yell and wave their arms, which is pretty much standard procedure in almost every high-stakes football match you will ever watch.
Yeah. They took a completely unprecedented step. They walked off the pitch.
Right.
In an organized collective protest against the officiating and that specific VAR decision, the Senegalese national team just left the field of play.
They crossed the touchline and refused to continue, and they stayed off the pitch for 17 tense, agonizing minutes.
Which is incredible.
Think about what 17 minutes means on live global television. It is an eternity.
Oh, the broadcasters must have been scrambling.
Totally scrambling. The fans are in the dark. The stadium is in chaos. I was looking through our notes on this, and I think the best way to conceptualize what Senegal did is to view it as a high-stakes labor strike happening in real time.
That's a great analogy, actually.
Right. Imagine a factory assembly line, but the factory is a multi-million-dollar international sports tournament. By walking off, Senegal was effectively pulling the emergency brake on the machine.
Yeah.
They were halting the entire production to protest the working conditions. So in this case, the officiating. They were forcing everyone, from the referees to the executives up in the VIP boxes, to stop and deal with their grievance immediately.
They brought the massive churning apparatus of the AFCON final to a grinding halt. And When you pull an emergency brake in any highly regulated environment, you are instantly challenging the overarching
Right,
authority.
you're testing the limits.
Exactly. You are testing the limits of the tournament's framework.
Yeah.
The Senegalese players viewed this as an exercise of immediate leverage. They needed the officials to reconsider or at least acknowledge the perceived injustice.
But the strike didn't last forever. Eventually, Senegal's captain, Sadio Mane, stepped up. He rallied his team, held discussions on the sidelines, and coaxed his players back onto the pitch. The strike ended, the emergency brake was released, the team decided to finish what they started.
So play resumed. The officials allowed the players to take their positions, the referee blew the whistle, and the ball rolled again.
And the match finished, and when that final whistle actually blew, Senegal won. 1-0.
They did.
They conquered the pressure cooker of Rabat. The tournament organizers literally brought the podium out onto the grass. The players were handed the trophy, they lifted it up, the confetti rained down, and they were officially crowned the champions of Africa.
It was a huge moment.
The physical reality of that moment was cemented in front of millions of viewers.
So the millions of viewers believed.
Right.
The Senegalese team operated under the assumption that by returning to the pitch and winning the game within the lines, they had successfully navigated the crisis and defended their title.
Right, because they won the game.
But our analytical breakdown reveals this hidden layer of strategy. By walking off that pitch for those 17 minutes, Senegal unknowingly stepped into a highly specific, fatal regulatory trap.
Wow.
And Morocco, as the host nation and the defeated team on the day, recognized this trap immediately. They just waited 2 months to spring it.
I was reading through the source material on Morocco's legal strategy, and I noticed something just brilliant, but incredibly calculating.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. When you lose a championship match, the instinct is to look at the scoreboard and argue about the game itself.
Naturally.
But Morocco didn't appeal the score of the game. They didn't go to CAF and argue that the 90th minute penalty decision was factually wrong, and therefore the 1-0 score should be invalidated.
No, they didn't.
They appealed the conduct of the Senegalese team. They bypassed the subjective interpretation of the referee entirely.
What's fascinating here is they shifted the battleground. Trying to overturn a referee's subjective interpretation of a foul is almost impossible in sports governance.
Right. It never happens.
Exactly. So Morocco moved the dispute away from the grass and directly into the objective black and white text of the Confederation of African Football's rulebook. They built their entire case around Articles 82 and 84.
So I actually pulled up the exact text of Articles 82 and 84 before we started today because I really wanted to understand the mechanism that could possibly turn a 1-0 victory into an international incident.
It's pretty stark, isn't it?
It is. The language in the regulatory framework is remarkably rigid. It explicitly states that leaving the pitch without authorization results in an automatic forfeit.
Automatic.
There is absolutely no gray area in the text regarding why a team leaves or how long they leave for. Whether it's 2 minutes or 17 minutes, if a team walks off the field of play without the express permission of the match officials, the match is forfeited.
And an administrative forfeit in football is recorded universally as a 3-0 loss.
Right. So, according to the strict letter of the law, the 1-0 victory that Senegal secured physically was erased and retroactively replaced with a 3-0 administrative forfeit in favor of Morocco.
That's the mechanism.
But wait, I have to challenge the logic of this ruling, though. Put yourself in the shoes of anyone watching this unfold live. The referee, who is the ultimate arbiter of the game in that specific moment, clearly allowed the game to finish.
True.
If walking off the pitch is an automatic forfeit, why didn't the referee just abandon the match during those 17 minutes? The tournament officials physically brought the trophy out onto the grass and handed it to the Senegalese players.
I know, it's...
How can a governing body legally enforce a walk-off forfeit if their own representatives on the ground allowed the tournament to conclude naturally? It feels like an immense contradiction between the people running the game and the people running the boardroom.
You are highlighting the exact philosophical and legal tension at the heart of this crisis. The conflict here is between two entirely different concepts: sporting merit and regulatory rigidity.
Okay, break that down.
So Senegal operated on sporting merit. They proved they were the better team physically, and they won within the whistle-to-whistle parameters facilitated by the referee. But Morocco leveraged regulatory rigidity. The legal argument from the boardroom is that a referee's immediate management of a volatile situation does not supersede the foundational charter of the entire tournament.
Meaning, the referee might have just been trying to avoid a stadium riot by letting the game finish, but that doesn't excuse the underlying rule violation.
Precisely the point our legal sources make. The breach of Article 84 occurred the exact second the Senegalese team crossed the touchline without permission.
Wow.
The trap snapped shut right then. The fact that the game resumed was, administratively speaking, irrelevant to the text of the law.
That is wild.
The infraction was logged in real time. Morocco simply allowed the physical spectacle to conclude, waited for the immediate emotional dust to settle, compiled the legal documentation, and presented an airtight case based purely on compliance.
So, overturning a continental championship on a technicality months after the fact isn't just a quirky sports trivia fact. This is an intentional, highly coordinated exercise of power.
Definitely.
If you are looking at this from the outside, you might think this is just an isolated football dispute. But why should anyone who doesn't follow sports care about Articles 82 and 84?
Because this incident is a vivid, real-world masterclass in modern power dynamics.
Exactly.
It proves a growing trend we see across international relations, business, and global governance in 2026. Major global events, and the ultimate victors of those events, are increasingly not decided by the physical reality of the event itself.
Right.
The physical arena, whether that is a football pitch, a public debate stage, or a consumer market, is becoming secondary. True power now resides in the quiet, climate-controlled reality of administrative offices.
It belongs to whoever has the better leverage, whoever understands the fine print, and whoever can manipulate the regulatory framework to their advantage, which connects directly to the concept of soft power. Morocco wasn't just another team participating in this tournament. They were the host nation.
Right. They had a home field advantage in every sense of the word.
They built the stadiums, they facilitated the massive infrastructure, they provided the security. They were intimately entwined with the immense bureaucracy required to execute an event of this scale. They didn't just understand the rule book, they were hosting the organization that wrote it.
Host nations exert incredible soft power. And soft power is the ability to shape the preferences and outcomes of others through institutional competence and legal leverage rather than physical force.
Yeah.
By successfully utilizing the CAF regulatory framework to overturn a physical loss on their home soil, Morocco has generated a massive geopolitical shockwave. They have effectively proven that sovereign law, so the bureaucratic, legalistic approach of statecraft and sports law, are now entirely intertwined.
They utilized the tools of a modern state to secure a victory that their athletes could not secure on the grass. They didn't need to score a goal in the 90th minute. They just needed to file a superior legal brief 60 days later.
Which is astounding.
And in doing so, they have profoundly discredited the physical game itself. If a 1-0 win on the pitch, witnessed by millions, can be transformed into a 3-0 loss in a boardroom 2 months later, the sanctity of the physical contest is completely compromised.
It really is.
It shows that possessing sheer athletic dominance, the celebrated Teranga spirit of the Senegalese team, is no longer enough to guarantee victory.
It sets a formidable administrative precedent for any competitive endeavor. You must also possess absolute regulatory compliance. The precedent established here means that every future protest, every moment of dissent or raw emotion on a public stage carries an existential bureaucratic risk.
Right.
Senegal used the walk-off as a tool for immediate leverage to protest an injustice. Morocco used the walk-off as a patient, legal weapon to secure the ultimate victory retroactively.
It fundamentally changes how anyone has to prepare for a competition. You don't just need a brilliant coach or the best talent. You need, an army of compliance lawyers analyzing every single step you take.
Oh, absolutely.
And the most intense part of this entire situation is that this fight is far from over. Yesterday's ruling by CAF was the administrative earthquake, but the tsunami is still rolling out. Our sources indicate that the Senegalese Football Federation, the FSF, is absolutely not accepting this administrative forfeit quietly.
No, they are escalating the conflict to the highest possible authority. The battle has officially moved continents.
They are taking the appeal to the CAS, the Court of Arbitration for Sport, and the CAS is located in Switzerland.
Right.
The symbolism of that move is staggering. A physical, deeply emotional dispute that took place on an African pitch between two African powerhouses is now being escalated to the neutral, highly formalized legal grounds of Europe.
We have officially left the grass behind entirely.
Yeah. We are no longer talking about athletes or referees. We are now deeply embedded in the realm of international legal arbitration, where panels of judges will dissect the events of January 18th frame by frame, rule by rule.
And, the transition to the Court of Arbitration for Sport perfectly encapsulates the core conflict we've been tracking today.
Yeah.
On one side, you have the Teranga spirit of Senegal.
Right.
This represents the raw, physical, emotional reality of a team that fought through a hostile environment, overcame a 17-minute crisis, and won the match 1-0 on the field.
Yeah.
On the other side, you have the regulatory rigidity of the CAF ruling championed by Morocco. This represents the unyielding reality of Articles 82 and 84, which mandates a 3-narrow forfeit for unauthorized conduct, regardless of the physical outcome.
So it is the subjective, lived experience of millions of fans clashing directly with the objective text of a regulatory rulebook. Two completely different realities fighting for legitimacy.
Exactly. And how the Court of Arbitration for Sport balances those two realities will have monumental implications.
Oh, totally. It won't just determine who legally gets to wear the second star on their jersey. It will establish a precedent for how we define authority, governance, and ultimate outcomes in major global events moving forward.
The decision will signal whether the physical performance or the regulatory framework holds ultimate supremacy in modern global competitions.
Which brings us right back to where we started today. 2 months ago, the physical reality felt undeniable.
Yeah, the streets of Dakar were a sea of green, yellow, and red.
The trophy was hoisted, the parades were held, the memories were forged in the minds of millions of people watching around the world. But today, the legal architecture of a boardroom has dictated that none of that physical reality actually matters. So I want to leave you with a final thought, something to mull over long after this deep dive ends. If a physical victory witnessed by millions, where the trophy is handed out and the parades have already happened, can be completely erased by an administrative code months later in our highly regulated, hyper-legal modern world, what does it actually mean to win anything anymore?